Hi everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the November release countdown. It's Karolyn here, and I have the great pleasure of sharing the new Peekaboo window dynamics with you. I'm especially excited because I had a small hand in designing these dies, and you all know how much I love an interactive card. So this set of dies will make creating Viewmaster cards a breeze. I start out by die cutting the large pink circle from some text weight printer paper, as well as some smooth white cardstock. I'm folding the printer paper die cut in half, and then in half again to create quarter sections. Then I'll use my scissors to snip off the corners of each quarter. What I've found with these Peekaboo window cards is that it takes a little bit of planning. So this temporary wheel is a great help in figuring out where my stamped images will go. I'll place the printer paper die cut on top of the smooth white die cut, and I'm marking the inside of each of the 4 cutout sections with a pencil. This will help me figure out where to stamp turn and the directional arrow from the interactive label stamp set. I've stamped both in all 4 marked locations using some black licorice hybrid ink. Part of the planning of these fun Peekaboo window cards has to do with stamping things so that the stamped images and words don't show up where they're not supposed to when you turn the wheel. Following these simple steps will help ensure that you won't make any mistakes, or at least avoid some of the pitfalls that I experienced while learning how to make these cards. Just trying to help a sister out. Next, I've die cut some ski slopes from some smooth white cardstock using the Snowdrift's Die-namics. I also trimmed an A2 panel from snow cone cardstock. I'm positioning both the printer paper as well as the cardstock wheel towards the top of the A2 panel, and then I'll place the snowdrifts on top of that to get an idea of where I want the speech bubble to go. I'll die cut the speech bubble off camera, and that's where I'll stamp some fun words. I'm using several images and sentiments from the new Ready Set Snow stamp set to create my scene. I snipped apart the Ready Set Snow sentiment with my scissors, and I'm stamping each of the words inside that speech bubble cutout area using black licorice hybrid ink. You can see that I used some temporary tape runner on the back of the printer paper die cut to keep it in place while I stamp. And after I stamp each time, I just rotate that speech bubble area to the next stamping area, using those triangle cutouts as a positioning guide. And since I only had 3 words from the sentiment, I thought it'd be fun to stamp what looks like a swoosh or blowing wind in that last quarter stamping area. I thought that'd be perfect for our cutie patootie snowboarding bear. Now it's time to die cut a notch out of the side of the image panel using the notch die included in the Peekaboo window die set. You'll notice that the notch die has 2 positioning guides to help you align the die perfectly on the outside edge of your image panel. I recommend die cutting the notch first before you die cut the outside edge to eliminate any embossing that might occur when you die cut the notch. I used the largest of the dies from the A2 rectangle stack set 2 dynamics to cut the outside edge of my panel. I repositioned the Peekaboo wheel back onto my image panel, and I'm marking the center hole with a pencil. I'm using an 1/8 inch hole punch to punch that hole, but you could easily use a paper piercer to do the same thing. Now I'm placing that temporary Peekaboo wheel onto the image panel, and I'll secure it in place with a brad that I had in my stash. This will help me figure out where I need to die cut the speech bubble from my image panel, which I'll do off camera. I probably could have just marked the location with my pencil instead of fussing with it to get the temporary wheel off without removing the position die. For some reason, I always have to do things the hard way. Just keeping it real here, friends. Next, I wanted to bring in some super fun wintry texture by adding some snowflake paste to the image panel using the Snowfall stencil. This is probably my all-time favorite holiday stencil, as it's perfect for adding just the right amount of texture with paste, ink, or dry embossing. No holiday stamp collection should be without this stencil. And that snowflake paste adds the perfect amount of sparkle and realism. I just love it. It takes about 5 minutes to dry, so I'll set that aside and move on to the next step. I'm using my mini eraser to erase those positioning pencil marks that I made earlier. And then I'll secure the Peekaboo wheel to the back of the image panel using my brad. Next, I'll adhere the biggest of the snow slopes to my image panel using some thin 3D foam squares to cut down on the bulk. I'm stamping another of the sentiments from the Ready Set Snow stamp set onto the smaller of the ski slopes using Summer Splash hybrid ink. And then I'll adhere it to the image panel using more of the thin 3D foam squares. And now we can start assembling our scene. To keep the focus on the peekaboo window assembly, I stamped, die cut, and colored the snowboarding bear, his hat, a couple of trees, and a snow splash from the Ready Set Snow stamp set off camera. I added some fun texture to the bear's hat, the trees, and the snow splash with some heat-activated liquid applique. And I'm adhering all of the components of my scene with more thin 3D foam squares. I used that speech bubble to help me position everything on the panel. So you can see now why it's important to do a bit of planning before you start your project. Everything in the scene needs to be aligned with that speech bubble, and the words on the peekaboo wheel need to pop up in the speech bubble and the side notch at just the right time and place when you turn it. The versatility of these peekaboo wheel dies is my favorite aspect of this set. You can place the speech, thought, or image bubbles wherever you like in your scene, and your notch can be located on any of the 4 sides of your image panel. The last thing to do is to attach the assembled image panel to an A2 top-folding snow cone card base using some regular foam squares. It's a good idea to use foam squares to allow easy movement of the wheel. And it just makes me giggle as the words pop up in that speech bubble at just the right time. I can see using the new Peekaboo Wheel Dynamics with many of our new and previously released stamp sets. In fact, I'll be sharing another one later on this month. I hope you enjoyed watching my video today and that you'll be trying the new Peekaboo Window Dynamics out for yourself. Be sure and check out the other November release countdown videos on the MFT YouTube channel. And until next time, have an awesome day.